Hey, family, Tacc man, how's your spirit? Talk to me. Tell me something good. We got a good one tonight. I had to go out today with the eye doctor. I get surgery next week. My left eye. I already had the cataract surgery and the cataracts removed and put new lenses in my eyes, but now they're going foggy. It's like 2.5 years ago. So this one here, they gotta do surgery. This one he says all right, but I still see like what everything in time. What's up, big bro? Yo,
I'm just waking up. I'm in on the porcelain throne. I didn't want you to see my.
yeah, I'm on my live. I just started.
Okay.
Go get on it. Tag 1107. Yeah. But today is appreciate. We went through helping everyone accept, achieve, now appreciate. This is a whole different dynamic. This is after you understand what love is. The core journey is understanding it, realize you didn't know it, appreciate it, fight to never lose it. And that's love. And before we start, let you guys know the name of this platform is called Tacc. Through Adversity Comes Change by me, Rich Coleman. It's a journey that we all must take in life. It's not just my journey. And the reason why I say that, of course, I always let you guys know who I am and, my past. I did 28 years in federal prison. I've been rich a couple times. I own business, houses, and stuff like that. But all of that's part of the journey. Everything that we go through is a part of the journey. The book is not about that per se, but it's about the struggles during the journey. Um, when you can understand the struggle and what it does and why, you know, God or whoever you put as your higher power is showing you um when you embrace it, it makes life a whole lot easier. This is why I tell you this program has 5 principles, 3 articles, one healer. And the healer is helping everyone accept, achieve, and appreciate love. But the whole thing is like the third principle is embracing your journey. And I feel like that's the most important because once you're able to embrace your journey, you no longer lie to yourself. You understand what it is that you're going through and how to deal with it. And you don't point fingers at others, you point them all at you because you know that everything starts and ends with you. But let's just get into this. The illusion that you already know love. Most people grow up thinking love is a feeling, butterflies, grand gestures, or someone finishing your sentence. That's not love, that's attraction or compatibility. Let me say that again. That's not love, that's attraction or compatibility. When you have somebody that can complete your sentences, a lot of times you think, oh, that's so cute. But people are creatures of habit. So another person that's around you all the time, they're gonna learn your habits, you know, and that's just how that go. Real love is invisible at first. You mistake intensity for depth, need for care, possession for protection. To appreciate love, first admit you probably don't know what it actually is yet. And a lot of people don't know what love is. And to get to, like I said, help everyone accept, achieve, and appreciate love and accept. Most people don't know, because they didn't know how to accept. Then once they're able to achieve love, then they have an understanding of what it is. But then when you get to appreciate, like I said, you do everything in your powers never to lose it. Um, think of one relationship you thought was love, but now see differently what was missing. And see, this is what we have to do to check ourselves. We have to be able to revert back. Well, that's why I say you don't hold your past. up front. You let it stay back there, but you can reference different things. But this comes in time when you're able to heal yourself. Once you're able to heal, and then you gain peace, it's a whole different animal. Something that we have to talk about later on down the road. But love is not what you get, it's what you give. Always understand that. It's better to give than receive. I always say, I'd rather be this hand than this hand, because this hand is always asking, this hand is always giving. Society sells love as something you find, not love, but love is a verb you do. And like I told you the other day, I used to tell my wife, when I was incarcerated, she said she loved me. I said, why would you say that? Because, love is an action, it's a verb. You never even have to tell somebody you love them when you really love them. Your actions show. And this is what a lot of people don't get. When a person is happy to see you when they ain't seen you all day, that's love. When a person goes out their way to do things, especially for you, and know how you move and know you need your space when you need it, when you want to be cuddled, that's love. See, a lot of people don't understand it's 5 love languages, and you must learn your partner's love language. And in doing that, that's when love really enters, because you took the time to learn your mate. If you only feel love when someone is giving you attention, you're experiencing dependency, not love. Love shows up in patience when you're tired, in honesty when it's awkward, in showing up even when you don't feel like it. You don't fall into love, you stand in it by choice. And that's something when I got older, I always said, because everyone has to go through getting their heart broken. It's just what it is. And I always said, when I was locked up, man, I'm not gonna fall in love no more. I'm gonna stand in love. And like it says, it's by choice. And when you stand in love, you're looking at everything. See, when you fall, you're on the ground, you can't see nothing. But when you stand, you can see everything for what it is. You hear what they're really saying, you see what they're really doing, and you have to be able to decipher, and the reason why, we're going through this part of the love aspect is because this is what we need to heal. It's nothing but hate out there in the street. You see, they got a war going on, unsanctioned war. People are being killed like crazy, but there's no love in the world. When I grew up, like I tell you, I'm from Harlem. When I grew up as a kid, it was love in Harlem. Everywhere in Harlem, it was love in Harlem. There's no love in the world now, and this is what we got to get back to. As a people, as a human race. Because when we're able to let the minor dictate for all, something is wrong. We have to really get past this. But let's get back to this. Almost no one appreciates love until they lose it. Ain't that the truth? And this is why I tell you, once you be able to appreciate love, you see love for what it really is. And you don't let it get away, or realize they never had it. Think back to a friendship that faded, a family member you took for granted, or a partner you left before because you were bored. That hollow feeling afterwards, that's the first glimpse of love value, not the fun part, the absence. And we've all gone through that. It's part of, this is how you grow. You got to go through stuff to grow. And that's just how it is. We don't know what we have until it's gone. It's not a cliche. It's the first real lesson. And that's the truth. You know, um I got to use me example. My freedom. Uh, Once I lost my freedom, I realized how valuable my time was. You know, but it didn't stop me because my mindset. I had a crazy mindset. So, this is why it took me a few times. The difference between attachments and love. Check this out. Attachments say, I need you to feel okay. Love says, I want you to thrive even if it's hard for me. I'm going to read that again. Check that out. Attachment says, I need you to feel okay. Codependent like a mother, low self esteem, everything. But we have to go through these stages. Like I told you, I had low self esteem as a kid, but I had to go through it and go through different classes and different programs and everything. Now, I'm good. Love says, I want you to thrive even if it's hard for me. That's like a woman said, look, man, I know you got to do what you got to do. I'm here. Just don't bring that bull home. That's love. Because most of, well, I can't say these women, but women from back in the days, they knew that where they place was, and not being like place like, oh, you here? No, they were right here with you, but they knew that you had to go out and do what you had to do in life. Nowadays, nah, it's crazy, and they have a hot meal for you and whatever else. Attachments panic at distance. Love endures distance. If you can't tell the difference, you'll keep losing love and blaming the other person. When someone disagrees with you, do you feel anger, attachment threatened, or curiosity, love present? And see, like, when you have to have somebody in your life in order for you to feel human, something is wrong. You have to take a reflection of you. You have to go and look in that mirror like, something is really wrong, man. If I have to have someone to feel whole, I'm 61. I haven't had a woman in a couple years. I always had a woman whenever I came home from prison. But my mentality now is I can't put up with stupidity. I can't put up with arguing. You know, my thing is peace. At certain times of night, I don't even want to talk no more. And it's not to be facetious or disrespectful or anything. It's just that being locked away for all those years by myself, I've learned to love me and I love my peace. And it's not to be disrespectful. It's all love. And this is probably why I don't have a significant other, but I'm cool with it. That's one thing that I really don't even trip on. I did 28 years without a woman. Yeah, all right. I'll hit you. I'll DM you after I finish. All right. But yeah, it's not out of pride or anything. It's just what it is. You didn't know love before because no one taught it. Like I said, our parents didn't even know. Everything is a learned behavior. It takes time. Everything takes time. And like I always say, there's no instructions to life. We have to go through it. We love to live our lives backwards, but we must live it forward because we have to learn, get the lessons and the blessings. School teaches math, not how to listen when you're hurt. Parents try their best, but often show control of sacrifice, not love. Movies show romance, not repair. So you build a fake map of love and got lost, realizing that this is not shameful. It's the doorway. Name one lie about love you believed. If it's real, it isn't easy. Just do the exercise. The moment you truly see love, it doesn't hit like lightning. It lands like a slow sunrise. If you ever seen a slow sunrise, it's one of the beautiful things you can see. Maybe someone forgave you without humiliating you. Maybe they stayed when you were unloved. Maybe they told you a hard truth because they refused to lose you to a lie. In that moment, you think, oh, this is what I've been missing. And immediately after, how did I almost throw this away? The second thought is appreciation. It's nothing like having, uh, significant ones and loved ones in your life. But when you get to a certain age, you know, um, now I can understand where like my mother and other older women, like I don't need no man. They got Jesus, like I get it because you get caught up with your creator or who you think is your creator, and you know it's fulfilling. Like I tell you, I'm at peace. I'm at peace by myself, and like I said, I'm loving my life. After all I've been through, like I said, the prison and then getting shot, losing everything. I'm still great. God takes great care of me. And this is what I'm saying. A lot of people don't have that connection, but that connection doesn't come like that. It comes through suffering, but realizing, changing your mindset and looking at you, looking within here, and no longer lie to you. Speak the truth to you, and man, life gets easier. Once you appreciate love, you become afraid not of being alone, but losing this special good thing. And like I tell you, once you learn love, you don't know you make my day when you come on and talk crazy. You really make my day. You got nothing else to do but to try to impede in my life. I thank you. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. You're gonna wind up making me rich. Watch what I tell you. Because somebody gonna come in and they gonna blast you, and it's gonna be a back and forth. It's gonna blow the station out all the way up. I got dreads. I don't go to barber shops. Thanks anyway. You want to pay for it? Send me some of that money. I go to barber shop. Send me some of that money. I bet you won't do that. You talk your ass off though. That's your big that's your whole vocabulary, nigga. That's your whole vocabulary. Yeah, I'm asking you for money. You telling me go get a haircut? Call me a nigga? You must be gonna pay for it, massa. You want to be massa? I like you though, man. Thank you. The fear is useful, not the kind that controls or smothers, but the kind that makes you put down your phone, apologize first, and notice when they're tired. He- he- Healthy fear or loss turns into vigilance, not anxiety. Let the fear remind you to water the guard, not lock the gate. And all that's saying is, uh, you said ER, but you wrote A. But I'm supposed to be the stupid one. You know what I'm saying? I love you, man. You the best. Keep on blowing it up. Like I said, let the fear remind you to water the guard, not lock the gate. Meaning, keep your heart open to life, to love. You know, a lot of people, man, I don't never want to be. No, that's not what you were made for. You were made to have everything in your power. Doesn't mean being a doormat. It means learning to fight fear, no silent treatment, no low blows. Choose them again daily, not just on anniversaries. Fixing what you break, growing up so your wounds stop hurting them. And just think about that, because a lot of times we throw jabs, you know, low blows, silent treatment. But we must learn to communicate. When we're able to communicate, man, life is so much better. That's what I said. You must learn your mate's love language. Once you learn her love language and she learns yours, man, life is a beautiful thing. Love doesn't love doesn't need perfection. It needs persistence. You know, always knowing that I'm not gonna give up. It's just like when you get married, you take a vow. But see, a lot of people don't understand when you take that vow, you don't only take that to that person. You made a vow to God. This is why you have to go to the preacher or the imam or the rabbi, whoever. You made a pact with God that you're going to do the right thing by this person no matter what, good time, bad times, and indifferent. But most of the people don't live up to that. It's only the good times. But, you know, that's another story. What's one thing you've been too proud of or scared to do for someone you love? That's your start line. You know, like I said, you know, we got to pay attention, you know, to life, you know, and it's not that difficult, man. You know, we make life so difficult. And the crazy part about it, if we was just to be patient, slow down, and understand that, man, life is so much better when you at peace. You know, why people still lose love after appreciating it. Even knowing love's worth, people lose it. I can't really say that they really knew it if they lose it, especially if it's their fault. Because like I said, if you really love, you're gonna do and you appreciate love, you'll do everything in your powers never to lose it because you know how sacred it is. Like I said, love is God and God is love. You see what I'm saying? And God is never going to do anything to hurt you. But this is just part of life. Even knowing love's worth, people lose it. Why? Because appreciation without action is just nostalgia in advance. You got to put the work in. That's what it's action. Love is an action word. It's a verb. You know, until my dumb friend right there who always talking crazy, I love him. He gonna make me rich with his negativity. Positivity gonna outshine it. Right, Guapo Jump. Ain't that your name? Guapo Jump. What kind of name is that for an idiot? They get tired. They assume the other person knows. They prioritize money, ego, or comfort. Appreciating love is not a one time awakening, it's a daily choice to not be an idiot again. And like I said, uh, you must learn your partner's love language. That's the only way. The only way it's going to benefit you both. You both must learn each other's love language. And the beautiful thing about it, Once you do, man, life is so easy. You know, I've never had any problems with my women when I was home. It's only when I was gone. And that's just how that go. That's life. You will fall at this sometimes. Forgive yourself, then get back up at work. And men are gonna be men, and women are gonna be women. But now, there's really no respect in this world because the devil has taken over, and you see it in everything. But we're stronger than that because he can't do nothing to us. Only thing he can do is whisper. But if we live right and do right, man, life is so much better, man. Like I said, man, I have no cares in the world, no worries in the world because God takes great care of me. I used to spend $1,000 a day on scratch tickets. Now I live off $1,000 a month and all my bills are paid and I have extra because I don't live above my means. See, that's a lot of people, they live above their means. And the crazy part about it, when you get older, you realize you don't even need all that. You be content with small things. And that's the blessing. That's the blessing. Living so you never lose it again. Check this out. The final chapter is not a summary, it's a vow. Write it yourself. But here's a template. I will not wait until love leaves to treat it like treasure. I will listen when I'm annoyed. I will say I'm sorry when and mean it. I will protect this not with jealousy but with error. And if I forget, I will remember again because it's too late. Before it's too late. And the beautiful thing about this, right? This applies to you, to yourself. You got to learn to love the one in the mirror. You have to learn to love the one in the mirror. And if you don't learn to love the one in the mirror, man, life is going to be tough. Like I said, I had low self esteem. Now I don't have that because I've learned to love that guy. And I no longer point fingers, but I point them here because everything starts and ends with me. It's just like Guapo Jump. I could act ignorant with him, but for what? You know. Now when I told him he gonna make me rich, he stopped posting. You know, it's easy. These guys are amateurs. But that's how life is, man. People gonna always hate on you. You just have to understand that it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. My thing is, man, I just want us all to win. You know, the people who wronged me, the people who didn't, everybody, I want everybody to win. And the only way we gonna win is we gotta heal first. Until we heal, we not gonna be able to do nothing. Then we have to learn the truth from the lies. So we be able to strategize our plan. Like I said, man, through adversity come change. Go tell someone you appreciate them, not for what they do, for the love you almost didn't understand. Ain't that deep? Do that. You know, why I love talking about love, right? Because growing up a little fat kid with low self esteem, I didn't even understand how to love me. I let more people run over me at times, sometimes out of fear, sometimes out of just like, just having low self esteem. But when you get older and you go through life, that's why this program is so beautiful. And the name is, like I said, God made the name. He gave me names, I put it together, and after a while it was what it was. But check this out. Through adversity comes change. That applies to everybody on this earth. When you're a baby, what the first thing they tell you? Don't touch that stove. Hot, hot, hot. You learn hot. But as you grow every day, something it's a new lesson. We're not brought into this life knowing anything. We learn as we grow. But one of the biggest lessons is learning to love the one you see in the mirror, yourself. Most people don't. Most people don't know how to love. And this is where you get abuse at. And this is why I tell you this program is so important. We have to learn to heal so we don't have to abuse. We can learn to love each other, stand in love, not fall in love, stand in love with each other and live right. Everybody copies us, but everybody hates us. We dominate everything we do. And these are facts. It's time for us to start loving us. It's time for us to monetize us. It's time, like the African guy, Torre, he's like, yo, y'all got to get out. This is time for us to monetize us. This is our stuff. Y'all got to go. Us monetize us. And we gotta put a movement together like this in America so we can monetize us. Then we'll start getting respect. You know, I just want us to win, man. That's the only thing I can tell us. You know, um, I'm also thinking about putting a book together on love. How we can learn to love and how you know, and we just like I said, we need to heal first, man. We've all been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray. Look, you got a guy that come on here and tries to clown me, but he's not even smart. This is how deep white supremacy goes. You know, and it's sad. Because they're ignorant. They're ignorant, and they think that they're better when y'all being used for your vote to rob everybody. But it is what it is. But we must heal, and this is what it's all about: us healing. Only way we're going to heal is we have to come together. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Only way is we gonna heal is come together. This is I'm gonna give you this dedication, right? To those who've been broken and rebuilt, to every soul that learned faith in the dark. This book is for the ones who keep walking when it would have been easier to stop. May your scars remind you that survival was never the goal, becoming was. And this is my book. Through adversity come change. I mean, people say they're not hurting and that, they don't need to heal, and that's cool. If that's how you feel, but when you come to a realization in your life that your life has become unmanageable and things are just not going your way, it's a reason for that. Everything God put you through, He gonna get you through. But you have to understand that everything that happens in life is for a reason. You know, you may not feel you hurting or you need to heal, but everyone has. Everyone in this country needs to heal because we've all been lied to. We got people thinking, "Oh, I'm better than these people because of their skin color. I'm better than this people because of his height. I'm better than this people because of this," and we all one. Yeah, exactly. It's called life journey, but a lot of people don't understand that. But we're not. We're all one. We're all one people. We come from two people, Adam and Eve. So we're related. Why we can't get together, and enjoy life together. We have more in common than we are not. You know. So it's time for us to heal. You may not feel it, but inshallah, one day you'll be one of my people who embrace the journey. Anybody who wants to heal, anybody who wants to heal. And I'm not talking about some lay your hands on your spirit. No, it's a process to help you get the things out of you that only you and God know. That when they rise, your day is messed up. Your fears, your shortcomings, your adversities, stuff that bothers you. You got to let it go because it's not really that deep. We we take a molehill, make a mountain out of it. When it's really not deep, it just lives in your head. It's just like I tell people, I'm 61. I was scared to death of The Exorcist and The Night of the Living Dead. If I look at those movies now, I say to myself, how could I have been scared to look at this? This is, it doesn't even make sense. But that's how things happen. Like I think that we shouldn't let our children see everything. I just told you, bro, everybody in this country is hurting. We've all been lied to. Look what's going on. Look what's going on. You know, they can fight a war, but they can't feed the babies. Come on. We can give money to Israel, but we can't build roads when they have free education, free hospital, free um, housing. They have a surplus. Why are we emboldened to them? We fighting a war for them because they want to take over. I don't understand what y'all say. Yeah, it is woke. I see the bull. I see the bull. And the ones who can't see it is because they're not woke. That means they're asleep. So they're going to continue to do what they do. You know, I just want us to heal. I don't care woke, sleep, it don't matter. I want us to heal as a people so we can learn to love each other instead of fight with each other. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. Loving each other. All that other stuff, it don't even matter. You know, it don't matter. But until we can come together, we going to do stuff like this. We're going to criticize, we're going to complain, we're going to talk crazy to other people because of their opinion. That's just life. Why? Why do you want to know if I own any crypto? Do you own any Doge coins? You own any Doge coins? Hello? All right, y'all. I'm finna go because this is not what I'm here for. I'm here to help us heal, not for craziness. Y'all have a blessed night. Tac man out. Peace.